Welcome, everyone. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. Every week we gather to talk to people about all kinds of cool ideas related to service, to innovation, entrepreneurship, and education, the themes that we have as a part of our club. And we are excited to have as one of our speakers this year a Rotary International trainer. Now, I'm going to give you a little background on Barney Callaghan. Before I do, let me just quickly welcome our members who are taking part. We've got Stephen Zhao, our secretary of the club. Stephen, wave. Yay. Go ahead and mute there, bud. We've got Shags Chagrin, our membership chair.
Good morning.
Good job, sir. And Nate Gildart, another member of our club, who is in Tokyo, Japan. That's where he lives and does all kinds of amazing things for students and through music and all kinds of wonderful things that way. And our speaker today is Barney Callaghan. And Barney is from Limerick, Ireland, and he and I met as part of the efforts that kicked into gear some years ago to connect my city, Santa Clara, California, and his city, Limerick, as sister cities. And like any truly meaningful effort, it encountered bumps along the way with this, that, and the other. However, that has all come together, and in getting that in motion, I had a chance to go to Limerick a couple of times, and via my contact, Kieran Lahan, a wonderful dude who is much sharper and funnier than most of the planet, introduced me to Barney, and we became fast friends. So when he came to the United States for this assembly, the Rotary International Assembly that took place over the last couple of weeks, then we were all like, well, make sure you come and visit, right? So you should also know that Barney is a past district governor of Ireland. And Barney, let's start by having you explain what it means to be the governor of the District of Ireland. So kick us into gear there.
Well, thank you for including me in the category of cool ideas. That's a good start for my day. We have a district which encompasses the island of Ireland. And as most of you probably know, history, like anywhere else, is complicated in Ireland. But to make a long story short, in 1911, the first two Rotary clubs outside of the US and Canada were formed in Dublin and Belfast, respectively. In 1921, 10 years later, the island was partitioned after a war of independence. The northern part of the island, the northern 6 counties, remained as part of the United Kingdom, then thereafter called the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And then the other 26 counties became the Republic of Ireland. And the Rotarians, however it happened, didn't partition. So when I served Rotary International and the 2,000-odd Rotarians on the island of Ireland, I had the privilege of serving a district that actually was under 2 political jurisdictions, the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom of Great Britain. And it was a great privilege to be able to do that. It brought a range of fabulous learning opportunities, operating in 2 currencies, which we're not accustomed to doing in the small little Republic of Ireland, and just dealing with the vagaries of 2 political jurisdictions. Great privilege to serve. And when Ursula and I travel wearing whatever hat we might wear representing the district, and we're required to carry flags, we carry the flag of the Republic of Ireland and we carry the Union Jack of the United Kingdom, and we do so very proudly. Great privilege, great opportunity to serve.
Well, I love the idea that one of the messages that comes from that is that Rotary can transcend something that politics cannot, right? And I love having seen that for myself. I had the chance to speak with a number of Rotarians while I was there. And that pride in we rise above is something that I think speaks to Rotary's heart in powerful ways. Now, speaking of Rotary's heart, this International Assembly that you just participated in, many of our members are new to Rotary, and so they've got some sense about this international convention thing that happens that gathers everybody, but they might not really know what the assembly is. Can you describe kind of what the focus was for the last couple of weeks?
Well, the Assembly is essentially the gathering that takes place in January every year, currently in San Diego, and has been there for the last 10 years. And it brings together the governors-elect of the 540-ish odd districts in the world. And they actually engage in a program of training and development for a week to get them ready to take office as governors in their districts on the 1st of July of this year coming. So there's an annual cycle of training, commencing in January. Now, obviously, there's a whole range of precursory work done before that. It can take up to 18 months to organise an assembly. So there's considerable overlap from one year to another. But it essentially brings the governors-elect together, puts them into a training and development and learning environment for a week, and then they return to their own districts and they replicate that methodology with a district assembly, president-elect training, district officer training, and then they commence their office formally on the 1st of July.
Well, that training piece is so important because with any large organization, and Rotary, between 1.2 and 1.3 million members around the world, certainly classifies as a large organization. There is that need to properly convey, a sense of history, a sense of purpose, a sense of vision for what can be. And so as a trainer, what kinds of things become the focus for you? What do you envision being not just your message, but your activities over the coming months?
Well, I think that in relation to this particular assembly, those of us that worked as trainers had a wonderful running start. There was absolute clarity in the message from Sunday night. Work commenced fully on Monday morning with general sessions, and then we went to do our own thing with training groups. So we had a crystal clear message. There was no ambiguity. The theme for the next year under President-elect John Jerram is Rotary Serving Humanity. It leads nicely into the centenary of the Rotary Foundation, which was founded in 1917, and there's a confluence of things taking place in the context of the next Rotary year. Every president that serves in a club in 2016, 2017, the centenary of the foundation, no one will ever have that opportunity again. Every governor that serves will nobody will ever replicate that and celebrate the centenary of the Rotary Foundation. So it was important for that. Part of the training was focused on the recognition of the centenary of the foundation. But in more general terms, the assembly focused, as most training does, on aspects of knowledge and skills and attitudes and behaviours. And this is common to any organisation that engages in training and development activity. So essentially, in workshops and idea exchange forums, teaching doesn't happen at the International Assembly. I think the perspective that those that organise the training is that the glass is very much half full. That we're dealing with people that are professional, that they're adept, they're focused, and they bring their vocational service, one of our 5 avenues of service, they bring their vocational service to the table. So the work that trainers like myself and my wife Ursula as a spouse trainer does is essentially to draw the best out of that community and get them to share it with each other.
Excellent. Now when you think about that kind of message going from the organizational structures, how to kind of get these particular themes, you talk about behaviors and knowledge and skills, and when we talk about these kinds of pieces, that can be a little vague for people who are new to Rotary, and a lot of our members in the eClub of Silicon Valley are within their first year of belonging to Rotary. As a matter of fact, a majority of us or majority of membership would be, and we are also constantly talking to people who hadn't considered joining Rotary before because they couldn't think in terms of going to a lunch or a breakfast meeting. And so the flexibility that our club provides suddenly means, I've heard about Rotary. This sounds like a really cool organization. I'd love to get involved in the service stuff you guys do. I didn't know I could. And so now they're looking, kind of at what we're doing, and it's certainly a goal of ours is to tell the story of Rotary as we go, right? How do we help people really understand those pieces? So when you think about the things you have learned in the assembly and the discussions that have taken place over the past couple of weeks, and then you think about talking to people who are fairly new to being in Rotary, what are kind of the first things that come to mind? What are those messages?
Well, I think to be a Rotarian, and by definition, I don't use the term good Rotarian because it's intrinsic. To be a Rotarian is to be a Rotarian. I think the basic qualification, the basic thing you need actually is a good heart, because everything else can follow from that. Now, so you need a good heart to be one of us. You need a good heart to join us in serving humanity. And it's a great privilege to be able to do that, and to do it in a company like we're involved in, like this community that we're engaged in now. It's a mutually supporting, self-sustaining company. I know nobody on this means except you, and you're a close friend of mine, but I feel connected to all of the people who are strange to me and that we don't know each other, but we're actually gathered together by the notion of being members of Rotary. And irrespective of what levels of knowledge we have, we actually are Rotarians and have the capacity, of course, to be better Rotarians. And I'm happy to use the word better rather than good, because there's always space for improvement. There's always space for us to learn things. But to deal with specifically with your question, with being Irish, it takes a while to get around to these things, you know, that there's certain basic knowledge that a Rotarian needs. Now, this knowledge is available on the web. It's not complex to find, nor is it complex information to retain. So we need to know how we serve. There are 5 avenues of service. We need to know that there are 6 areas of emphasis dealing with child and maternal health and education and literacy, community development, etc. We need to know those basics. We need to know that there is an ethical code. We have a 4-way test. We have a set of published and espoused values. So this information is easily available. And the key thing for me, from the perspective of the knowledge aspect of training, is that it's not something that we need to retain in our head. And I've learned much of this from you, Rushton Hurley, as well, that there is information available to us. We can go to find out what we need to know. So if we can't remember the 6 areas of emphasis for foundation grants or for Rotary business, well, we go to the web and we actually find what it is that we're looking for. So there's a basic knowledge that every Rotarian requires to be a better Rotarian. The next area, the area of skills. Well, we bring a whole range of vocational skills, whether we're butcher, baker, candlestick maker, scientist or technologist. We bring something to the table. We come with a glass half full. And there's a range of skills, the ability to do what we're doing, things that Rushton Hurley has taught me about being more adept with the use of social media and working online. And this is my first e-Rotary meeting. I'm a Skype user, I confer on Skype, but this is my first meeting and I'm really pleased with this. It's a step up in my skill base, how to use this. So basic skills, the skills to negotiate, the skills to get things done, to organize things, but I think as importantly as all of that, the skill to listen, to pay attention to what those around us are actually saying. I had the privilege to meet 2 young Rotarians from your club last night, Minnie and Steve, is that right? The 2 men we met last night. And to actually be in the space of 2 young Rotarians in an eClub under 30 years of age, I had to work at practicing my listening to pay attention to what these 2 important young human beings had to say. So the whole panoply of skills that you need to navigate the earth, you need to be a better Rotarian.
Absolutely. Cool.
Third component is about attitude, how we view things, being positive, growth mindset. We're here to add value, we're here to be positive. And behavior, ordinary behavior, good manners, wearing our Rotary pins, this kind of thing, you know, it is a behavior, but living the 4-way test. So there are the 4 components. And maybe for later in the meeting, there's a bigger issue then around that, around the whole area of finding out within ourselves what's actually within us, the whole area of developing our capacity. Because the training thing that we engage in, knowledge, skills, attitudes and behaviours, is important for an organisation. But we would also emphasise to people the idea of personal growth, finding the wonder within themselves, bringing to knowledge what's not actually known. We have great capacity as human beings, so that's another component of the training, but it's a little bit more long term, so it is.
Good deal. Well, I want to mention that we have all of these members who have joined us for this is, and I want to open that up to Nate and to Stephen and to Shags and to Alan, our treasurer, who has joined us as well. So any of you guys, if you are, when you're ready with a question or a comment, just go ahead and demute. I'll see that happens, and we will get you going with that. So thinking about the title of this talk, getting to next through training. What are some of the nexts that you imagine for Rotary? What are pieces on the horizon that you feel were beginning to be discussed, or that you could see in new ways via the assembly? when the leadership of our organization comes together and begins to really share ideas, where do you see that going?
Well, I think one of the big nexts is related to membership. And of course, membership is a function of engagement with a community, about being clear about our message. And it goes back to our behavior, how we behave in our communities, how we support people in our communities, our local communities and our communities abroad. So I think the big next for us is to ensure that we survive into the future. We have been in existence since 1905. Many other organizations and many other concepts have faltered and disappeared from the face of the earth. So the next for us, I think, has to do with relevance associated with membership. For example, we're on the cusp of eradicating polio from the face of the earth. It'll be the second time in the history of man, in the documented history of man, that an endemic disease has been eradicated from the face of the earth, smallpox being the only one before this. This is a huge legacy issue. And I think part of the next is actually being conscious, for people like myself of a particular age, being conscious of legacy and what comes next. I Skyped just before this meeting to my little granddaughter, Ursula, and I spoke to Alex and her dad, our son. And she's part of the legacy. So next for Rotary is making space for Alex Callaghan, ensuring that in 10 years and 11 months, when she's fit to become age-wise an interactor, that there is an Interact Club available for Alex to walk into and say, my granddad is a Rotarian, my grandmother is a Rotarian, and hopefully she'll be saying, so is my dad and my uncle, and we're working on this, so we are. So I think next has to do with legacy, next has to do with relevance. And we have some golden opportunities to highlight our relevance. The Rotary Foundation, as I mentioned, its centenary next year. We're celebrating 100 years of incredible behaviour towards our fellow men. A whole range of activities, peace scholars, ambassadorial scholars, group study exchange teams, vocational training teams. And for those that don't know about those particular concepts, I'd suggest in the context of knowledge that we spoke about, go and have a look. Learn a little bit about these things and improve your knowledge base. So next for me has to do with legacy, but it has to do with relevance. If we don't stay relevant, we won't celebrate a bicentenary, but it is my belief that we actually will. We will celebrate a bicentenary.
Absolutely. For a lot of people, there is that need to have space in their lives, where what happens is that they see that that what they do from day to day to day is not simply something that happens via via their work, via their family, but that they have the potential to be part of something greater in their community. I think at some level, everyone who joins Rotary understands this piece, that there is something greater that they can be a part of, and that once that feeling is there, then they begin to see the avenues by which things happen. That idea of like, what kinds of things are happening, with your club. And by the time this particular recording is the program for a week, we will have engaged in our first effort regarding mentoring young entrepreneurs, people who've got, a good idea for a startup that can benefit their community. And we've gathered some people so that we can say, what questions do you have at this point? What ideas have you thought about these things? And so finding new ways to serve is important to us as well. I'll add that moments ago, let's see, and Barney, we didn't actually focus on this a minute ago, but I actually was, as I was getting feedback, I reflexively muted you, and so if you hover the cursor over my face at the moment, right, you'll see a little microphone icon towards the top. Exactly, and then that can bring you back in, and that handles the feedback part. So from our gallery, are there those who say, okay, well, here's something I'd like to ask more about, or there's a comment kind of related to my experience with Rotary and this experience that you've talked about with Ireland. Anything to add in? And I'm not saying a demute. There we go, Shags, you're in.
Well, I've been in Rotary 30-some years, and the trainings go on usually on Saturdays for the districts or divisions. I'd love to see some online training that brings in input from different districts and different regions.
Well, I think that I'm not familiar with the whole operation across the world, but I know in Rotary International in Great Britain and Ireland, we use a Moodle methodology to actually work with people online. We find that particularly useful. And there is a learning centre also. Now, this applies to Rotary International as an international body, as opposed to something at district level, but there actually is a learning centre on rotary.org, which is a hugely useful resource. And I would say to anybody, if I can use this, a man who was not born with computers and who wouldn't be the most adept human being with the use of technology, but I'm learning that if I can actually manage to work my way through these things, the resources are actually there. I'm unfamiliar with what things are like specifically with districts in the States, but definitely Rotary.org has a very, very useful and comprehensive learning centre. It's getting better all of the time. We use that in the UK and in Ireland also, and we also have within Rotary International in Great Britain and Ireland an online Moodle methodology for learning, which I use it myself to get better at what I do, but we also engage with others and encourage them to use those methodologies. But we would be entirely at Eden with that. We definitely need to do far more of our business and our interaction, our training, development and enabling of people online, in addition to meeting face to face, which also has advantages.
I think there's that progression, having information available to saying, okay, now we're using digital media tools to begin to connect, and then record, and you know, Shags's comment about using online tools, and when we think about video in particular, you know, President-elect Mitty and I have talked about this quite a bit, you know, and he's got a real vision for how to help people kind of learn all kinds of different processes through simple short video. Our district governor nominee elect, or kind of whatever that you know, kind of position may be, is interested in this as well. Tim Lundell has done all kinds of good work training people all over our district, and is looking for new ways to handle it in a space like ours, because in Silicon Valley, trying to get people together, you know, especially, you know, at the end of the workday, means navigating traffic that's just nasty, we'll call it, right? And so, you know, there has to be other more efficient ways to be able to get stories, or get people to tell their stories to each other, so that we can begin to generate the ideas that push us in good directions. Let's finish kind of this part of it with a little bit about Ireland, right? So Ireland's a special place. You know, it's a place, you know, Americans who have any connection to Ireland tend to have strong and vocal connections to Ireland. You know, it's like, yes, Irish, and that, you know, that's a part of that connection between Ireland and the United States. A lot of good history there. But if you were to describe to someone now, you know, kind of a little bit about, well, my community is, and so you're thinking about Ireland generally, Limerick specifically, what kinds of things would you say to help people see that part of the world?
Well, as you've mentioned, Ireland, and Ireland is a place that's currently at peace with itself, and it's growing to be more at peace with itself, which is a joy for my generation. You mentioned vision in your earlier remarks. Vision is what brought peace to my island and my home place, and to our islands in the Northeast Atlantic. Someplace in the good book, I think it's Proverbs, says, where there is no vision, the people perish. You mentioned Mitty, your president-elect, who I had the privilege of being in his company last night, but hearing his address to nearly 540 governors-elect, and I come to Ireland in a moment, but I have to say this, the guy was exceptional. His message was beautifully received by people twice his age, and it was seriously impressive just to sit there and bear witness to all of this. There's a young man with vision, and there's people engaging in this conference who have vision, and I think vision is actually what does it for the future, and not to be afraid. Now, back to Ireland. Vision has brought peace to my island. We have a population of the island in total of about 6.5 million. It's the size population-wise of Greater Manchester. Small island, friendly people, good educational values, good attitude to the future. It's just generally a nice place. No more than any part of the world, it has its difficulties, its complications, its ambiguities. We need a tolerance for ambiguity to live as well. But we speak very differently. I'm trying not to speak colloquially now, and I'm trying to speak a little bit slower, because I speak what's called lovingly in my house machine gun English by non-Irish visitors who don't use English as a first language. And we have our own language in Ireland, of course. I mean, I'm a bilingual citizen of Ireland and citizen of Europe. But one of your writers, James Elroy, the fabulous writer who wrote LA Confidential and The Black Dahlia, he was in Belfast last November, 12 months, and he said about Hiberno English, which is the type of English we speak, he said Hiberno English is idiomatic and perplexing in its cadences. So we bring this to the world the way we use English. So it's one of the nice things about being Irish, that we speak in a particular way. Our underlying syntax is the syntax of Gaeilge, or of the native Irish tongue. So we sometimes say things in reverse, and of course we say them at kind of bullet train speed then, and it's difficult to understand us. But nice place. We greet people well. I mean, Ursula and I have kept an open house from the day we started to live together, which is 37 years now. And people like us, Irish people say you're very generous and you give greatly, etc. And we do. But what actually comes back to us from the perspective of friendship, linkage, international community. I'm sitting in Rushton Hurley's kitchen, so I am. You know, he's not afraid I'm going to steal anything, I think. So we find, I suppose, because of the way we behave towards people generally, and like we have no monopoly on brilliance, of course, because there are wonderful people all over the world, but we navigate the world well, and because we keep an open door and there's a general hospitality, we're here in Santa Clara, and we're not strangers here. We're part of this community, and very, very proud to be so. And when we go to Ursula's pal in San Francisco next week, Lucy, we're part of that community because we're mutually supporting. We treat each other with respect. So respect is still an important part of our culture at home. We haven't lost all of our own values and our old values, and we still retain them. And I know Rushton would say, and I'm not paying him for this, but Rushton would say that, yeah, generally nice country, nice people. Definitely a place, if someone found you, particularly in rural Ireland, a little bit bewildered and lost, a helping hand would come. Someone would say, can I do something for you? So we're still that way, and very, very proud to be.
Well, I can't name anywhere on the planet that I've been that so exhibited the virtues of Callaghan. It was really kind of stunning to all of us to get to experience the friendship that was a part of the effort to bring the two cities together. So we have kind of hit that time of having been through our program, and it's always good to be able to thank a speaker.
Oh, that's so California.
The wonders of technology, right?
I love it.
But all of you who are visiting, so this is the program of the week, I believe, will be week of February 15th. But all of you who are visiting, there are a number of things that we want from you. We want your ideas. So there's a place a little farther down where you can leave a comment, and in leaving that comment, you're sharing with us kind of how you see what we do, our programs, our meetings, those different pieces. You might even have critique. You know, have you thought about this? We love getting ideas about how we can improve what we do. We know that we can be better, and I think that's kind of a healthy way of looking at the world generally. We also ask that you tell us you were here. So there's a little I attended survey. The attendance survey is important because it helps us kind of know who's coming in and going to the trouble of saying, yes, it was interesting enough for me to actually put my name here and say I was here. And we're not going to spam you or anything like that. But we do want to know that, and if you're a visiting Rotarian, having properly filled that out, you will receive an email that you can pass along to your club secretary as a makeup. In addition to being able to find us at SiliconValleyRotary.com, you can also find us at RotaryMakeup.org. So you can get to our site either way. Finally, I would say that we want for you to tell others about what you experience. You know, if part of this meeting is something that allows you to kind of see the world in a new way, to give you ideas about ways you can help others, improve your community, and kind of experience the joy and meaning that comes from that, then by all means let somebody else know the same. They may come and they may give us advice that we desperately need to reach out in ways that might be quite powerful, because we want to be the kind of service club that is inspiring people on a weekly basis. So as we do each week, I like to leave the last comments to our speaker. And Barney, I'll pass it over to you to add our summary for today.
Thank you, Rushton. You used the word inspire, and like vision, that's one of the words I like, and it was one of the things that we were emphasizing at the International Assembly in San Diego last week, to inspire and motivate, particularly those of us who take on leadership positions. That's our job. But as kind of getting to next was the theme of this particular engagement, I think that we all who are Rotarians have an obligation to learn as much as we can about the organization, because there are stories to be told. Ursula and I and our two sons have stories to be told about meeting Rushton and Tabitha Hurley, meeting 4 ambassadorial scholars that lived under our roof. So storytelling is a hugely important aspect of getting to next. I think engaging with opportunities when they present themselves to us. Next year presents us with the opportunity to celebrate the centenary of the Rotary Foundation. No, as I said before, no president-elect and no district governor will ever share that opportunity again. Isn't it a wonderful opportunity to use that well, to invest that opportunity and to create growth for the future? And the final thing is about legacy, which we've mentioned in the course of this conversation as well. Something I made a discovery of in the last 10 years or so, the writings of a former dean of St. Paul's Cathedral in London, a man called Robert Ing, a very eminent clergyman. He died in 1954, to the best of my recall, but Ing said the proper time to influence the character of a child is about 100 years before he is born. I'm absolutely convinced that what we do as a community now, next week, next year, and for the rest of our natural lives will have an impact, to the good or ill, but I'm leaning on the side of optimism and growth mindset, that we will actually influence the character of my granddaughter's great-grandchildren. And I fundamentally believe that. And it would be wonderful if people shared that view. What we do now will be relevant long after we're gone from this earth. And my best wishes to all of you. It's been an absolute privilege to be here, my first eClub meeting, and I will be joining you in this Rotary Club at your meetings in the future. Thank you for the opportunity.
You are always welcome, as all our guests. And we hope that we will see you next week.